This is your professor, Joseph Komrosky. This will be your final paper, and this format will work for Philosophy 20A, Ancient to Medieval, or it will work for Modern Philosophy, either one. But here we go. So I'm going to read this to you, and this is simply in the module, under your paper. But it's a 5 to 7 page double space paper, and you can read this, and I want you to read it in detail. I'm just going to go over the highlights here. But unlike the quizzes and the exams, this paper gives you a chance to express your own idea and arguments, engaging the philosophers that we've studied, So you can either talk about the people who you appreciate in this paper and the people you disagree with. You're going to get a chance to do this twice on each side. But it's also testing your understanding of these philosophers and how you represent them on paper. So here's the topic. Here's the main topic. Many of you are looking forward to being parents someday. Some of you may already be parents. Those of you who are not sure that you want to be parents, you could think about your neighbor's kids, or your brother or sister's kids, somebody's kids, right? So anybody can do this paper, whether you want kids or not. You just imagine that you had kids or your neighbor's kids. So here it is. Why I want my children or my neighbor's children to grow up to be, for instance, Stoics, Epicureans, Christians, Aristotelians, a combination of Plato, Augustine, Kantian, whatever. We haven't even studied Kant, so forgive me for that. But anybody that we've studied in this semester, and I can just simply show you right here. So it's a live paper topic from, Hesiod and Homer all the way up to Augustine. And you simply just look at your syllabus here. And it doesn't just have to be the names on this chapter heading. I mean, there's a bunch of people inside, ancient India. There's a bunch that we talked about with the sophists, or even the relativism in China. So any of these philosophers within these readings, all the way up to the end of the semester, is free reign. You have to pick two of these philosophers and their ideas or arguments that stand out to you, that you like, that you say, you know what, I like that. One might have a religious perspective, one might not. You might have a religious perspective and say, I'm either a Jew, Christian, Muslim, whatever, right? And you might say, but I really like what Confucius said, or I really like what Socrates said. You might merge them. However you do this, you have two that you're going to agree with, that you think that your kids should be raised under their influence, or their teachings. You're just imagining this. And then you have two that you're going to disagree with and say, I do not want that, being taught to them. So you're like their advocate, okay? And if you have kids right now, then you don't have to pretend. You just like flat out, this, I do want this, and versus I don't want this. So going back to the paper, I try to make it real easy. There are two aspects of the paper, a positive and a negative. Number one, you must choose two authors' philosophical viewpoints and talk about them in the positive. You must choose two authors' philosophical viewpoints and talk about them in the negative. So you must include a thesis statement in your intro paragraph. So what I do is I show you the exact template I want you to use to write the paper. One thing this is going to do, this final paper is in the place of your final exam if you're in my online class. If you're not, then you will have an online, you will have a final exam plus a final paper. But so anyways, this is going to test, are you paying attention to my instructions? I want these exact headings in your paper. Introduction, Section 2, positive contribution from philosophers. Section 3, negative contribution from philosophers. Section 4, conclusion. Section 5, bibliography or works cited. You got to put those in your paper. Then I'm telling you what to do for each one. For example, introductions. And by the way, I stress this right here by underlining it. These 5 sections, you got to include them. Intro. This paragraph should be about a half a page long. And by the way, the whole paper, let me go back up. Whole paper is 5 to 7 pages, right? 5 pages minimum. So the intro paragraph is about a half a page, conclusion's about half a page, and then section 2 and 3 are 2 pages each. So that right there is 5 pages. That's the minimum, okay? If you want to go longer, you can. So your intro paragraph should introduce your topic in a general way. You can be creative, just a general introduction. Then you're leading the reader into your very specific thesis statement. What I want you to say is, my paper argues that, or in this paper, I will defend the position that, and you're simply going to tell me, I defend the position that I would like these 2 philosophers' viewpoints, or I like these, or I think these 2 philosophers' viewpoints are positive, and I also think these other 2 philosophers' viewpoints are negative, and you mention their names. It could be as simple as that. That is a very specific thesis statement. That is what I want. If you do not give me a thesis statement and I cannot find you explicitly saying, my paper argues that, or in this paper I defend the position that, and I have to work to try to find it, it probably means you don't have one, and you'll lose points for that, okay? So if you have if you need help figuring out how to write a thesis statement, go to the thesis generator. You can see the examples that they walk you through. It's about television, watching TV. It's very general, right? But you start plugging away, right? And inside here, you literally click this button, submit, and it gives you 2 or 3 possible thesis statements. It's awesome. You could literally use that to generate a thesis statement, okay? So anyways, I give you that link here. And that's the introduction section. Once again, half a page. You generally introduce the topic. The last sentence of your intro paragraph should be a very specific thesis statement that anchors the rest of your paper. Section 2, positive contribution for philosophers. This section should be 2 pages long, at least, right? At least 1 page for each philosopher. It's real simple, right? Got the philosopher's viewpoint, 1 page, represent them, and in the same page, why you agree with their position. You must include 2 quotes for each philosopher. So this means on 1 page, you're going to have 2 quotes. I do not, and I repeat this, I do not want you to give me 2 quotes and then magically it fills up your whole page. No. You must have 2 quotes, and they could be simple, right? Then you must tell me what you think about what they've said. Okay? So once again, 1 page for each philosopher. On that page, you're going to give me 2 quotes. Don't make them super long, just 2 quotes. You can, after those 2 quotes, paraphrase or tell me a little bit more about them, and then tell me what you think. So how about make it simple? 1 paragraph on what the philosopher says, another paragraph on why you think it should be influential to your kids, then another paragraph on what another philosopher says, 2 quotes, right? And then a little bit more on your own paraphrasing. And then another paragraph on why you think that philosopher's influence should be on your kids. So maybe like 4 paragraphs on 1 page. 2 pages. Let me rephrase that. 2 pages long. So on 1 page, you have 1 philosopher. You might say the half the page you're representing what they say, their view, right? And in that half page, you're going to give me 2 quotes, and then the rest paraphrasing, right? The other half the page, you tell me what you think about what they've said, okay? That's 1 page. 2nd page, give me the other philosopher. And again, that's why I do the title just like this. Philosophers A and B's teachings, that's 1, that's 2, and C and D's teachings that you disagree with. So the first page in section 2, 1 philosopher you agree with. 2nd page, another philosopher you agree with. Half the page, you give me 2 quotes of theirs. Then you fill in the rest by paraphrasing their view. Yet the rest of the half a page, you tell me what you think and why. Here's the bottom line with all this. I want to know what you think. I don't want to know what somebody else thinks, man. I do that all day long by reading books and articles and magazines and movies. I want to know what you think. Why? Because what you say is important. And keep in mind the very premise of this book, the great conversation. It is a great conversation, and it's not had just between Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Hesiod, and all these bad boys and girls, right? It includes you. You are in this mix. You're part of the great conversation. You're part of the Socratic method. We're all together in this class, okay? So tell me what you think. Then go on. Section 3. Negative contribution, 2 pages long, right? First page, give me the philosopher you disagree with. Half the page, give me 2 quotes from them. Paraphrase the rest. You're representing their view in like half a page. The second half of the page, tell me why you agree with them. Why you disagree with them, and give me an explanation, right? Then the next page, another philosopher, on and on. So sections 2 and 3 should be about 4 pages total, 2 pages for each section, okay? And again, you can read these instructions. 4, conclusion, half a page long. All you're doing is rephrasing your intro paragraph using different language. And you're telling me, hey, I've defended my thesis statement. Back up here in my intro paragraph. I've defended it. And here's why. Real simple. Can be generalized, The point of this exercise is to teach you how to write papers better than you already do. And when I give you these, section headings, it really gives you good structure. And that's what you need when you write a paper. You don't want to sit there and start typing on and on and on and on. You want to have structure so that you say, look, I got sections 1 through 5. I just got to start filling them in according to what Joseph's given me as far as my page length, half a page, full page, 2 pages. And I think you'll write better papers that way. And then, like I said, this is just the beginning. You write this paper, you turn it into me, it's your final paper, you're done, right? You may take this paper in the future for another class or for another college, right? You may add on to it, make it way better, make it longer, make it more specific, do outside research. Just look at this like the beginning, even though it's your final paper grade for this class. If you used it in the future again to add to it. Why do I say that? I'm in a PhD program. Some of the papers I write have taken me 3 years. One of the papers will start off just like yours, a final paper, right, for my class. Then like a year later, I'm using it for another research project. So I take it, I make it way better, longer, more research, more polished, on and on and on. Then I try to present it at a conference. I might try to get it published. Great philosophers don't write a paper in a couple weeks. Maybe some of them, like they're total geniuses. Most of them, they could take a year to 3 years to make a really good paper, okay? So it takes time. So don't feel intimidated. For this class, you just follow these steps, okay? I make it easy for you. Section 5, bibliography or works cited. You got to cite the work you use. What work do I want you to use? I don't want to see 3 to 5 other websites for research that you got. All you have to use is this book that we use for this class. What is it? Great Conversation, right? Great Conversation, Historical Introduction, 8th edition. These are the authors. Oxford University Press. What year is it? You've got to tell me that. Let me see. Make it easy for you. What year are we using here? 2019. Okay? So you have 2019, Oxford University Press. You have the author's names. You have the name of the book. You have the edition, right? What do I give you right here? Well, I give you an example, not of the book that you're using, but another book, right? I tell you, this is the exact format I want it in. The name of the authors, the name of the book, what edition, the publisher, right? Like Oxford, and then the year. So I'm giving you an example. And of course, this is not the example that you use, but you use the same formatting for the book that I just showed you that we use for this class. Okay. So that's it. You got section 1 intro, section 2 positive contribution from philosophers. You got 2 of them, 2 pages long, 1 page for each philosopher. Okay. Section 3, the negative. These are the philosophers you do not want their teachings imposed on your kids or your neighbor's kids. 4, conclusion. 5, bibliography. Okay. Last but not least, this is the rating rubric I'm going to use below. And actually, before I show you that, once again to highlight, this is not an easy assignment. A good paper will require much thought. Don't leave this until the last minute. Just don't. Leave it to the last minute. You're going to be struggling, okay? So the rubric is exactly like this. And it's on It's on a scale of excellent, good, needs improvement, missing, or unacceptable. For those of you that don't turn in a paper, that's really going to hurt your grade. But if you didn't turn in a paper, you're just going to get zeros. And I'm going to be clicking these rubric boxes for each section. So here's section 1, intro paragraph, thesis statement. How good is it? Read these details. This is exactly how I'm going to grade you. There's 10 points out of, sorry. Your paper is 100 points total, right? And I am giving you points per section. So for example, intro thesis were 10 points. Your positive, your 2 philosophers section, 25 points, right? Your negative section, 2 philosophers, 25 points again. And I'm asking you, did you give me 2 philosophers? Did you tell me what you think, about them, stuff like that? Support and documentation. Did you give me at least 2 quotes for each philosopher and no more than 3? I'm really telling you I want 8 quotes total, 2 for each positive philosopher, 2 for each negative. Did you avoid plagiarism? Did you use a bibliography? Did you use the section headings that I gave you? Literally, did you use those section headings? I'm telling you to use them. Did you do it? Okay, so 20 points for that. Grammar and spelling. I don't grade you as hard as that because this is in an English class. I'm more concerned with how you convey concepts and ideas to me critically. So I ding you a little bit, but not that much. 15 points total. So if you have horrible grammar, you're going to lose 15-point max. Okay, no more than that. Some of you, if I click needs improvement or, and it's, you're not getting a lot of points, that's a cue to you in the future. Take this paper or another paper, go to the Writing Center. If English is a second language to you, the Writing Center, these people do this for free, and their job is to help you. They will literally take your assignment that I'm giving you. If you were to go down to the Writing Center and say, hey, I got to write a paper for Professor Joseph Komrowski's class, this is exactly what I want you to do, they can look at all of it in the rubric and say, oh, this is what you do, and they can help you, okay? So if you're struggling with writing papers, I want you to go down to the Writing Center. I go to the Writing Center for my own PhD papers. And you know what they tell me to do? This is crazy. Get ready. They say, read your paper out loud. I'm like, what? Yep, start at the intro paragraph and read it out loud in front of me right now in front of yourself. I'm like, okay. I start reading it out loud, and if it sounds weird or funky, chances are I've made a sentence not clear enough. You can magically find mistakes in your grammar 10 times faster if you read your paper out loud to yourself before you turn it in. Most of you won't do it, but if you did do it, it would help you. So I'm just saying, I use the Writing Center. It helps me, okay? Everybody needs help writing. Nobody's perfect. If you are, you have a PhD in English and you're teaching, and even then you're not perfect. Last but not least, conclusion paragraph. Did you give me one? Real simple. 1 paragraph, half page, boom. All those are worth 100 points, okay? So that's your rubric. I want you to read that before you start your paper. This is exactly what you're going to do. This is your topic, okay? And what it does is it gives you free range for the whole semester. And I am sure some of you are disagreeing with some of the things you read right away, okay? And I'm sure some of you are saying, man, I really like that. Well, there you go. Figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, and you got your paper, okay? Anyways, you have any questions, just let me know, and enjoy.